So I'm going to do a quick introduction of the people that are on the board or technical advisory council, and I'm going to turn it over. So we have Steve McCord. He's Tuleyome's volunteer board president. We have Bill Grabert. Bill is Tuleyome's volunteer board treasurer. We have Glenn Holstein, who's one of our volunteer board members who've been with us for quite a while now. And then we have Bob Schneider, who's one of Tuleyome's founders, a former board member, and now he's on our Tuleyome Advisory Council. And then we have Jeff Majinski, who's a long-term supporter, and he's also on Tuleyome's Advisory Council. And then we have staff on the right now is Nate Lilge. He's our Adventures and Engagement Director, which I think is the funnest title on earth. And I think we've got some other friends and family on here, but I think I've got most of the main people. So I'm going to turn this over to Steve to take over.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is a second or so board salon I've been involved with, and at least as a board member. So Tuleyome was founded in 2002, so 22 odd years ago now. And the goal is to protect and steward the lands of the Intercoast Range, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Been working with people at all government levels and other stakeholders, individuals that are interested in land, and supporters from near and far. Part of that is the advocacy role in protecting the land. We take folks out onto the land and tours. Glenn, especially here, you see some of the flowers in the background he's showing people. Design and build trails. That's a top thing that Nate here does. And we steward the land, managing conservation easements, purchasing land, implementing watershed improvement projects, and things like that. Tonight, we're going to focus on the advocacy role and the recent work that's gone on. So with that, I'll pass it on to Bill for an overview of that sort of stuff.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so an overview of our advocacy. We have a long history. We're more than 20 years old, and most of that time we've been doing this advocacy. So starting in 2005, we were able to get the Cache Creek Wild and Scenic Rivers designation. And then we went on to do a number of wilderness areas, either designating or expanding the Cache Creek, Cedar Roughs Wilderness, Cache Creek Wilderness, Cedar Roughs Wilderness, Snow Mountain Wilderness areas. We were able to expand, and the Yuki Wilderness area. Those are all in the Intercoast Ranges in the Berryessa Snow Mountain Monument area. Then we led the effort to establish the monument itself, the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument, which was designated by President Obama in 2015. Since then, we've been working to expand access by designing, building, and maintaining trails. If any of you have been on any hikes with Nate or on Tuleyome hikes, you most likely have been on trails that we've worked on. Then on May 2nd, just this month, President Biden signed a presidential proclamation adding Moloch-Loyak to the monument, officially renaming and ensuring tribal co-ownership. Co-stewardship. So it used to be known, and it's still on maps, as Walker Ridge, and it has now been added to the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument as Moloch-Loyak. Tuleyome was honored to be in the Oval Office when the president signed the proclamation, and it adds 13,696 acres to the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument. We're proud to have led the effort together with the Yochadiki Winton Nation. Now, Bob, I probably got those different wilderness areas a little bit off. Do you want to add anything to the wilderness areas?
I think it's just important to recognize that it was Mike Thompson's California Northwest California Wild Scenic Heritage Act of 2006 that passed. And that is important in recognizing that a lot of advocacy is about building relationships. And we worked with Mike on that very closely. And when we were working on the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument, he became also one of our real champions there. The other thing is building allies and partners, and on that bill, and Ryan, I think, worked a lot on this with Don Amador to include South Cow Mountain BLM lands as a designated off-road vehicle area. And, you know, they don't get much recognition in that manner. And I think that was important. And that built a very strong ally that helped us later on also in our advocacy work. So thanks.
All right, thanks, Bob. Next up, Sandy. Can you tell us more about the Moloch advocacy, please?
So I'm sure a lot of you guys get our newsletters. It was really a coalition effort. It was led by the Yochadihi Winton Nation. Representative Garamendi put together a discussion draft bill to add a portion of Moloch to the monument. When it was sent out, the Yochadihi Winton Nation responded asking that it be renamed from Walker Ridge to Moloch, asking that tribal co-management be mandated, and then requesting that it be expanded into not just the Lake County, but the Colusa County effort. So it started there. A lot of the folks that worked on this effort have worked on Berryessa. I see allies on the phone here, Jazz Taylor, Green Latinos, Latino Outdoors, she's with Latino Outdoors. I'm thinking of some of our partners, Cal Wild, California Native Plant Society, Conservation Lands Foundation, Western Conservation Foundation, Sierra Club, multiple folks in the Sierra Club, Great Old Broads for Wilderness, Don Amador with the OHV community. We had Vet Voice, Vet Foundation, Surfrider Foundation, EcoFlight. It was just a bunch of folks. We had 8 different tribes supporting the effort behind us, all the Putwin peoples, Robinson Rancheria. It was just a huge coalition effort. We had congressional support. We had Senator Feinstein, the late Senator Feinstein, Senator Butler ended up supporting. We had Schiff, Padilla, Thompson, Garamendi. We had local elected official support in the form of our state senators and assembly people, Mr. McGuire, Mr. Dodd, and then Assembly Person Aguiar Curry. So the support was huge. We had the governor's support. We had over 160,000 people on a petition. And it was all of us working together, working really closely with the tribes, with all the partners. I want to say something unique about our group, which you guys probably don't know. Most coalitions have organizing agreements. We do not. We work together. We talk through everything as a group. We worked on experts, data, media, DC visits. We built support within BLM and the administration. We hosted Secretary Holland for a visit. We had a community listening session with 200 people, 100% positive comment, 75 people talked about it. And we took people out on the ground and we showed them the area. We showed them the wildflowers. We showed them Moloch. And I think that was one of the really, for like decision makers and BLM and the folks trying to understand when you have there's so many amazing places here. Why a place is particularly important. I think being out on the land is really powerful. And I know we've got a couple of people that were on those tours. Glenn Holstein, our resident botanist and expert on many things, was on those tours. And I don't know if, Glenn, if you want to share a little bit about the tours and, you know, some of the folks we had on it and, you know, how that worked and give some insight on that. I think I would love you to share that.
Well, I'd love to do that, Sandy, because we've got something really special here in California. We've got the highest biodiversity of all the 50 states in the United States. And that means the most species, and we also have the most people. So having a home for all those species is a real challenge. And Tuleyome has really done a lot to make that happen. First, by organizing the campaign that created Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument in the first place, and then adding this wonderful area, Moloch, to it just this year, and getting approval by bringing people together, taking them up there and showing them how wonderful this place was. I mean, I'm a kind of a guy that knows California plants pretty well, and I I drive around and I know most of them just by sight. But boy, when I got up there on that ridge, almost every plant was different. That's what you call high biodiversity. Every 100 yards, there was a new plant to talk about. And boy, it was a real challenge. It was really a brain teaser to actually get names on everything we saw. We finally managed to do it, but it was a challenge. And not only were there a lot of species, but they were beautiful species too, in many cases, things that get really, really attractive because bees see beauty, they see color, and that brings in the pollinators in the springtime when the plants need to get pollen to set their seeds. And we have a very dramatic spring because it's very short between winter when it's wet and cold and summer when it's hot and dry. We have this wonderful spring, and we took the people up, in many cases, decision makers, showed them how much beauty we have up there. And that beauty is reflected in almost every species as you drive and walk those dirt roads being different. It was just a really amazing show of beauty. And it was an amazing show of scientific challenge to see what was up there. And we're still getting questions. Kim, that's a part of the trip, just sent me a question about this wonderful Diogenes lantern that was up there. And I get questions about this all the time, and the amount of diversity, not just in flowers alone, but in the mammals. We have the most diverse mammal species in all the states as well. So it isn't just plants. All these things need a home, and thanks to the great campaign that we really led, but worked with an awful lot of other people on, we've helped make it happen. And I want to know, you were back there on the signing for it. Sandy, could you tell us what that was like?
So it's really, I mean, obviously it was pretty amazing. I sent an email out to some of you. So being in the Oval Office was amazing, but equally amazing was that folks gathered about an hour beforehand. And so you have this opportunity to celebrate with folks you've worked with. I think the roughest part was not enough of the coalition was there to celebrate with us because there were only 4 people from our coalition there. So it was myself, Ryan Henson with Cal Wild, June Bando with California Native Plant Society, and then Secretary Mia Durham with the Yochadihi Winton Nation. So, but we gathered beforehand. He signed the San Gabriel National Monuments expansion too. But we got to also hang out with, we had top people at CEQ. Brenda Mallory, the chair of CEQ, was there. Stephanie Harding, who's the lead at CEQ for lands and water issues. BLM Director Tracy Stone Manning was there. Laura Davis Daniels, a special assistant at the U.S. Forest Service who leads a lot of the land efforts, were there. We had Senator Garamendi, Senator Butler, Representative, I'm not Senator Garamendi, I'm sorry, Senator Padilla, Representative Garamendi Thompson, all the principals were there. A lot of the staff we'd worked with were there. And everybody was just, you were hanging around and talking, right? I mean, how often do you get to like literally hang out with these people where John Garamendi is talking to me about the wildflowers on his farm, and we're talking about the ones that are out in Bear Valley, and then Mr. Thompson is showing me pictures of his hike up Canocti and stuff. And it was just that nice and like, really sharing how happy everybody was about it. So that was a really fun part. We took a lot of pictures. I have pictures I could share. That was neat. So that was really fun. I do have a dilemma. You get M&Ms, right? And I keep telling people I only took 1 box and I should have taken 2 boxes because you want to keep one closed because it's kind of collector's item. But I've heard that they stamp the presidential seal on each individual M&M. So unless I open the box, I won't know for sure. So the box is just sitting out as a source of temptation to me. And then the other thing that occurred to me, it's funny what goes through your mind, right? Is so I got a signing pen, not one of the actual 2 that went to Vice President Harris, and I'll talk more about that, and Senator Padilla, but they gave us all signing pens. And so Biden is a felt pen. Did President Obama have a rolling writer? President Trump used Sharpies. Like, do they have, I don't know, it's weird what goes through your head after, right? So they get you outside the Oval Office for a bit, and then they kind of line up the elected officials and the government officials. I'm sorry, my cat just jumped up on the desk. And then you file in, and Vice President Harris greets you, and she's very charming and effusive. She knew a lot of the people. And then the president actually walks up. You have about 90 seconds with him. Some people got a little longer. And he like looks you in the eyes and talks to you, which is, I mean, it's pretty cool. They're like, he is the most powerful person in the world, you know. So it's kind of nice to be there. And then you all line up and they talked for a while. There was one point where other people were walking in. I had this realization. I was in the Oval Office and I started looking around at the Oval Office, and it's smaller than you would think it is. I don't know how, it's got to be wide lens or something, but I really, I kid you not, it's smaller than it looks on TV. It's not like teeny, but the TV makes it look gigantic. And then he sat down, he and the vice president bantered. He said that he wanted us to know that for the last 3 years, he's been hearing that everything good begins and ends in California. And he kind of looked up at her and she like put her hand on his shoulder and she said, well, Delaware is lovely also. And, you know, he kind of gave her a look and they kind of, so it was kind of nice, right? They're people also, and they banter with each other. And, you know, I mean, I've met Joe Biden when he was a senator, but he was a senator at the time. Now he's the president of the United States of America. And, you know, he was nice and gracious and he made some remarks, and then they funnel you out and you talk more with people and you hang out, and we did some press interviews. It was fun. It was just really fun. So, but it was a really celebratory experience. And I think that's the part about it that's, it was, you know, you work so hard for so long. Again, the worst part was like Jazz wasn't there with me. Nate wasn't there. Glenn wasn't there. Bob wasn't there. All the folks that worked on it. And I'm probably missing other people on the call. Mike weren't there with me, but it was a really wonderful experience. But we've had a couple celebrations and we'll have more. So we're hoping to have a celebration for the community around the anniversary of the monument, which is June 10th. So stay tuned, more to come on that. So it was cool. It was a great experience, and it's momentous working so hard for so long. And one of the things I will say is it takes as much to get nearly 14,000 acres added to a monument as it does to get the original 380,000 acres. You go through all the same process and all the same work. So I couldn't have done it without all the folks that we work with and our coalition, and Tuleyome just has an absolutely amazing staff. So that really doesn't hurt either.
It seems good that it was, you know, it wasn't a antagonistic fight for it sort of thing as much as the purple wave I'm recalling back in December. You know, it's a very positive effort and energy that went to it.
Yeah.
So thanks.
They still talk about the purple wave. We all had purple t-shirts at the community meeting if you weren't there. So we supplied, like, there were hundreds of purple t-shirts. So they kept joking about the purple wave in the back of the room.
Steve, you commented about it not being, I forget the word used.
Controversial.
It certainly wasn't as maybe the original monument, but it was an issue in Colusa County. And I think the people that got out and did the retail, walking door to door, rounding up people, I mean, the final vote in Colusa County and for the addition of Moleculia was 2-3. So we lost on that end of that. It's the first time I ever walked out of a 5-person vote that we lost on a 2-3 and thought it was a huge victory. So that was, but moving Colusa County that far was absolutely huge, and I think critically important to the long-term success of getting this National Monument edition.
We found
victorious defeat. That's good.
I was going to say I'll agree with Bob about that. I mean, we did the on the ground work. Tuleyome pounded the pavement. Cal Wild pounded the pavement. A lot of groups went out there. We went to Lake County. We went to Colusa County. We met with businesses. We met with elected officials. We met with Tuleyome. We met with, I think it was 7 different tribal representatives. about this. So everybody got out there and did the work, and it really does take a community effort. So I keep, getting a monument is a great example of democracy, right? A bunch of people get together, they decide they want something, they band together, they show why it's a good thing, they work with their elected representatives, they build a broad coalition, they make it happen, and they celebrate. Yeah, it's great.
And I was remarking with staff and some board a couple weeks ago how it's a lot of effort and boom, it's over, right? But as Sandy reminds us regularly, it's not over. There's phases to this sort of work. So the first one is this: getting land protected status. And so we got this added piece to it. And then the next one is planning the land management that goes along with that. So now we have this conjoined this national monument, and a management plan is needed to take advantage of that, to manage it as a cohesive unit. And then the third phase will be and is already in some ways implementing that plan, doing the stewardship on the ground that makes those changes that the plan is envisioning. So and Tuleyome will be there for all that. So this is just the first of those three phases. So what's next, Sandy?
So BLM is starting monument management planning, and they're required to, both BLM and U.S. Forest Service under the original proclamation are supposed to do a joint monument management plan. And that's where they look at the conditions on the land, and then they figure out what can happen where. And basically, I'm really slimming this down. What can happen where and what quantity? Like, what are areas that are culturally sensitive that we want to maybe prohibit or limit access to? What are areas that would be appropriate areas to have OHV use? How many more trails do we want to have? And I will let you know that Bob Schneider and Andrew Fulks have already designed the newly minted Monument Condor Trail that will go from the Bay Area all the way to Klamath-Siskiyou when completed. So that is what monument management planning does. It's a really important step. The coalition isn't going to go away, and we don't want any of you, because a lot of you guys were the people who were supportive and are the reason that we were successful. We don't want you guys to go away either. We want you guys helping us with monument management planning. So right now, BLM got 1.5 million. So they're going to do a scope of work, and they're going to assess the on the ground situation and determine sort of what they need to do to modify their current land management plan to protect all the things within the monument that we thought to be protected, from cultural resources to biodiversity to the amazing geology. I mean, the geology at Moloch Loic is just absolutely fascinating. So that's what will happen. It's going to tie into a bunch of other processes that are going on. You'll hear about the Northwest Forest Plan. You guys remember the spotted owl? They have to redo that forest plan, which will make them redo the Mendocino National Forest Plan, part of the national monument. So there's going to be a lot of complicated planning over the next couple of years. I would surmise Tuleyome will be involved in it. We have a new policy director, Hekia Bodwich. She was on, but I think she's off now. She'll really be helping lead that effort. We'll be working with a lot of the tribal representatives on that. And then, we will be keeping you guys updated on what's going on and how you can plug into the process. Like, for instance, when they were talking about trails about a year and a half ago, we held our own webinar where we pulled up their trails program, and we helped folks feed in their comments and explain how it works. So Tuleyome will still be there, making sure you guys are part of the whole process, and you can talk about what you want to see in the monument management plan and what you don't want to see in it, because I think both are valuable questions. So that's what we're diving into now. It's really important, and out of that will result where we can and can't have trails, what kind of trails we can, what we protect and don't protect. So I don't know if any of the participants have any questions, or any of the board members or TAC want to share things they'd really like to see in the monument management process. But yeah, so that's where we are. It's the next stage. It's a cycle. I think it's important to say, and we're Tuleyome. We're looking for other lands to protect. Don't worry, we're not done yet.
Sandy, I have a question for you. So the monument management plan, obviously Tuleyome is going to be closely involved, but is it led by the monument manager? And who is the monument manager?
So we have a monument, that's a good question. So there is a monument manager that is, that has a dual role with US Forest Service and BLM, because we have both BLM and US Forest Service land in the monument. They have agreed to do a joint co-management, a joint management, landscape scale management plan. How that's going to play out is not entirely clear. They both do a process to assess what the on the ground circumstances are and how they go forward. They're both in that process. So the monument manager will be the lead for overseeing monument management planning and implementation of that plan. Currently, we have a monument manager who's on detail. Her name is Melissa Hovey. I believe she will come back in July, but she's retiring shortly afterwards. So the interim monument manager is Kaylee Barnitz. She's been the wildlife biologist for the Ukiah Field Office. She's lovely. We don't know if she'll be the permanent monument manager. Hopefully we'll hear within the next week or two, but it's a very unique position that they have, but they lead it and they have a staff, a technical staff that works with them on it. So they're all in pre-NEPA planning at this point. So, which means they're doing a public process, but it's not NEPA yet.
All right, great. Thanks, Sandy. So at this point, we're going to open it up for questions. And Sandy, did you want to stop the recording?